Nicaragua. The culture shock saturated us. It was extremely obvious, and everywhere we went we were called gringos. The poverty of Nicaragua was also pretty obvious. People lived in shacks made of bricks, cinder block houses. There was an interesting contrast between the poor and the rich. Poverty, and then all of a sudden a gated restaurant with security guards and guns. On our second or third day in Nicaragua, we had to go to an orphanage for kids with special needs. I asked myself beforehand, how does this place deal with special needs kids in this environment? How does an orphanage handle low-income families with the majority of their clients from poverty? When we arrived at the orphanage, I was struck by how clean it was. There weren't that many people there, and the only people that were there were female caretakers and nurses. They led us through a large door, and it opened up into a big patio-like area with no ceiling and a lot of airflow. There was a big fountain in front of us. We put our bags down, sweating. We walked towards the end of the room. That's when I was like, oh yeah, this is what it's like being around kids with special needs. There was kids lying on the ground on mats because they had cerebral palsy. There was a kid tied to a pole. There was a girl leaning against a beanbag, enjoying the moment. I sat down next to her, and I began rubbing her back, trying to make physical contact. A nurse came over to me, saying, here's some fruit, you should try to feed her. I fed her a few pieces, and that was all. Skipper came over to me. I eased off as he warmed in. I wanted Skip to enjoy that moment as well. I stood up and I looked to the left. At the end of the room, there were several kids with cloth wrapped around their hands. It was because they bit their hands. They were really hunched over. Their wraps were soaked with saliva because they kept gnawing on them. I said, no wonder nobody's playing with these people. Their hands are hard to approach. I sat down. I wanted to be in the presence of one of them. I was lucky. He sat there and looked at the wall. I started patting his back. He laughed a little. That was the way it was for 15 minutes. Every once in a while he would hit me with his hands, playfully. I got a ball. I passed it to him. He punched it back. He smiled at me a lot. The picture you see, that was him. A lot. And then, as soon as it started, probably quicker, we had to go. We got up and left, and I never saw him again.